What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Madonna as we continue through Ray of Light 1998. Thank you again to Mark and to all those who've been part of this deep dive. And we're here. This is a track I've talked about a number of times, and one of the handful of tunes I knew going into this deep dive, and I think maybe the only post-80s track I knew to any degree reasonably well, which is to say there might be some tracks still down the road that when I hear them it's like, oh wait, I remember hearing this on the radio, or maybe I saw her perform this or something at an award show. But this track I do know well, and I've told essentially a condensed version of the anecdote before, and I'll still try to be quick here, but yeah, this tune was introduced to me by an old girlfriend of mine back in high school, and long story short, we dated a couple times. The first time we dated, the breakup was difficult, and when I heard this song, in the wake of that, there was a lot of emotional weight, and there were several lines along the way that in one way or another seemed to fit the situation and the heaviness of feeling quite well. Now, long story short, I did end up dating her again a couple years after high school, and that time around it was more healthy, I would say, and even the breakup in that case was a lot better and more mutual, and this track, I suppose, took on a bit different of a meaning and was maybe, brought to a better place in terms of like the emotional impact. Now, that anecdotal context aside, I was stunned from the moment I first heard this, because again, I knew Madonna when I was a kid in the 80s, and so when I heard this at the end of the 90s and, the end of my teenage years, I was like, holy crap, like, this is really good, probably better than anything I remember from her, like, classic 80s era, and the depth of, like, production and the electronic sound and the sort of down-tempo ambient feel of this one is like nothing I would have ever expected when it was suggested to me, hey, let me play you a Madonna track. So yeah, I think this one is beautiful sonically, lyrically, and I think vocally she hits the vibe of the tune just perfectly. Now, having said that, I haven't heard this in years, so I have heard it several times, many times, but probably not for many years, a decade. Like, I'm not even sure exactly how long it would be, but not for a while, as Luca is dreaming and fidgeting over here. But yes, my memory of this tune is not only, sort of personal and nostalgic, but it is, I think, a masterful tune, and one that, as I said, when I heard it in the late 90s, it shocked me in a very good way. It was like, oh damn, like, the maturity of this track, it feels very far away from like Lucky Star or even Borderline and other tunes which do have some emotional depth. So yeah, and to be clear, that is in no way a knock on her classic tracks from the 80s, many of which I love and still I think hold up today. But yeah, long story short, I think this is a very incredible tune, and one that hit me with a lot of surprise and impact at the time. So with no further ado, let's give it a listen. This is Madonna. The track is The Power of Goodbye, and it's from her 1998 album, Ray of Light.
To let go. Creation comes when you learn to say no. You were my lesson I had to learn. I was your fortress you had to burn. Pain is a warning that something's wrong. I pray to God that it won't be long. I wanna go higher. There's nothing left to try. There's no place left to hide. There's no greater power than the power of goodbye. The heart is not open, so I must go. The spell has been broken. I loved you so. You were my lesson. I had to learn. I was your fortress. There's nothing left to lose. There's no more heart to bruise. There's no greater power than the power of goodbye. Learn to say goodbye. I yearn to say there's nothing left to try. There's no more places to hide. There's no greater power than the power of goodbye. There's nothing left to lose. There's no more heart to bruise. There's no greater power than the power of goodbye.
It's brilliant. It's every bit as good as I recall, and there's so much to say. Like, okay, sonically, as I said, I just love not only the overall down-tempo, ambient vibe of it, but all those little details, the little light electric flourish, that sort of rolling, like, I don't know, like tribal percussion. I don't know how to describe it. The mixture of natural instrument sounds, the acoustic guitar, the strings, with the more electric, pads and the lead melodies, which have a more keyboard sound. I think Madonna's vocals are, again, perfect. They just capture the emotion, and they feel, like she's working through these ideas in her head, and the wisdom, the maturity that's been gained through this painful experience, and eventually coming to this inevitable point. I think it all comes across in her vocal delivery, and most of all the lyrics. Again, like phrases like, you were my lesson that I had to learn. Like, I had to go through this to understand what this is like, and, what it feels like, and the idea of knowing when the time has come, when the possibility has run its course, when there's no more heart left to bruise. But I was your shelter that you had to burn. I mean, that's one hell of a line. And the idea of, what is it like, that, the creativity can come through something ending, like the philosophical lessons that she's deriving from this, beyond the relationship itself, and the idea that, like, closing a chapter, closing a door can actually be a manner of rebirth or rejuvenation or new creation, and it's only through that understanding that you can maybe move on, move past the experience. Yes, I know, Luca, there's a loud truck outside. But yes, they're just really poetic lines, and I think lines of, wise emotional experience. And it's clear she's still very sad about this. There's no, the idea that, like, oh, well, I can move on and something new can be created, and, it's the power that comes from saying goodbye. I yearn to say goodbye. That can all be true, but at the same time, I don't think there's any doubt that there's a melancholy, there's a reflection and a sadness that is articulated through the lines and, again, her vocals. So yeah, it's a masterful track. I even love, right at the end, the way it strips everything away and it's just that acoustic guitar, and then it leads into this final conclusion, which, it's a proper ending. It's not a fade out, which, in this case, there'd be nothing, I think, that would diminish this tune for me sonically, but the fact that it is a proper, like, cold ending sonically, I think, just makes it even more perfect. So yeah, it's a really well produced tune, and again, I'm assuming this is William Orbit working his magic, but yeah, just the electronic touches, the sequencing of the track, the natural instrument layers to it, it all works really, really well. So yeah, every bit as good as I remember it. Let me know what you think of this one, and I will see you next time. Peace.